We are going out with a bang for this final video of 2024. It is 7:05, it is pitch dark. I'm just about to set off to London to film something incredible. I'm so excited to show you guys. This is one of the most amazing things, and it's up there in the top 3 things I've done this year on YouTube. So I'm happy that you're coming along with me. Let's belt up. My hair is a wreck. We're on it. Let's go.
Here we go.
So we've made it. We have Ibrahim.
Hello there.
And we're going to talk through some of this amazing aspects of this collection, which is actually thinned out somewhat, hasn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. This is probably 10% of what it used to be.
So the pictures you sent me
Yeah.
with all the Star Wings stuff,
Yeah.
that's what it used to be. That's what it
is-
once was.
That's right. So, I mean, it was out of control. That's what it was. I mean, you say Star Wing, it's right behind you, and I had the statue, and I still have all the competition stuff, but it was just too much. I was just hoarding it all, and yeah, I decided to sort of part with some things, but still good. Got some pieces, but nothing like what it used to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, even this, when I walked in, guys, I was just like, I couldn't believe, like, this is a dream come true. We got the Donkey Kong skateboard. There's so much good stuff in here. All pretty much from overseas, isn't it? Because we're going to talk through some pieces.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, some in the UK,
Yeah.
but most of it through Europe
Yeah.
and the US. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's talk through some stuff and check some of this beautiful Nintendo Wears Out, which I believe is some of the best in Europe I've ever seen. Do you?
There's some good collections in Europe.
The best. I need a few seconds of your time to tell you about channel memberships. If you guys want to become a channel member, click join from the main page or the second link in the description. There are 3 tiers, all with different perks for you if you want to become a team member. Thanks for your time. Let's continue with the video. So where do you want to start? I think
don't
is
know.
the
It's
main
up to
question.
you. I mean, start with the chaos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a huge thing. So this is, I've never seen this, excuse me, in person. So where's it from? What's the scoop?
Okay. I mean, these were made in the US and shipped out internationally. I haven't come across one in the UK. I know at one point there was one in the UK,
Okay.
at least one. I've got the sidearms to a few that came from the UK. So, you know, who knows? They probably skipped them out over the years. But this popped up in Belgium, and as soon as it popped up, I just messaged the seller, and I'm like, mate, I want to do a deal. You know, whatever you're asking price, I'll pay it. And I didn't hear anything for weeks and weeks. So I just thought, you know, it's one of those ads. He's going to ignore the, you know, English buyer. And later on, he started posting some other stuff for sale, like a car. And I messaged him like, I want the Super Nintendo Chaos. And he's like, oh, I didn't see your message. Sure, come and collect it. So I got a van. I, you know, drove down there with my brother. I had to undo this whole thing to fit it in the van. So
And it is huge.
it's huge
it
and it's
like
heavy.
Yeah.
It's like half a ton. It's so heavy. So I pieced it out, fit it in the van, and then got it through here, put it all back together. Luckily everything works. The lights work, the speakers work. They're so loud. You've got 2 speakers here, and there's a big bass subwoofer underneath here. So it's a beast, and it's just so cool because I remember this being in like a Toys R Us, and you know, just getting on there and just playing. It's just so cool, and that's what I wanted to recreate. You know, as I started collecting, buying games, buying sealed games, and accessories and stuff. Like, what's next for me? I'm like, oh, I want to recreate that scene in Blockbusters in HMV. So I'm like, oh, I need a display, I need a chaos. And this was the chaos I wanted. And it's probably the prettiest Super Nintendo chaos out there. So I had to grab it, whatever the price. So
what model is this? If people like wanted to look this up, because I don't
there is a
remember
model
this.
number. My friend Andy Cunningham, he made a book with all the we can put a picture and a link to the book.
Perfect.
Of all the displays and chaos, and he's put all the numbers, the original catalog images, and so we'll get the number. I can't remember it off heart. I think this other one is like MATC.
Yep.
Something along those lines, but I can't remember all the details. But yeah, it's a nice one. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. And you kind of mentioned these side panels as well. Did you say you've got extra side panels for these?
Yeah, so I mean that's
the
the left
there.
side panel.
This is the top, yeah.
Yeah,
So, okay.
and that's the right one. And what I plan to do is with the extra ones, make a light box.
Right.
And that's something I did with a piece up here. You can't really see it because it's covered, but I'll send you photos. Those came from Toys R Us, and they were the cabinet toppers. So I've taken the cabinet toppers, I put it into a light box, and then that way you've got something from Toys R Us, which is beautiful, and then you've got your own little sign there, which is cool.
Incredible. So your favorite piece then, because obviously we're going to go around the rest. Of your pieces. So we know that this is one of the biggest cabs Nintendo did. What is your personal favourite piece in this room? The thinned out collection, I just
Chaos or just like anything? It'd probably be the globe, which is up there.
Right.
I've got a couple globes, and the full one I'll send you photos of. It's still with my friend, so it needs to be shipped out back to me. This is one that's not complete, so and it's not fully mine, so I can't claim it's fully mine. It's just one of those crazy deals. But the globe is my favorite because of all the fiber signs you can get, the globe is the best. And the fiber optics beautiful. You've got all those lights going in sequence, and it's just so cool. But this thing is massive. I mean, it's a meter wide, round, and it's got this silver globe on top of the world and the bottom, and it's just so beautiful.
And do you have the top and bottom pieces?
So it's just complete. But to find the space to display it, it needs a big space. But that's probably my favorite. This Super Nintendo Chaos comes very close. I mean, but if I had to pick, I'd pick the globe, just because I've got other Chaos, and like this NES one, this is just so special to me.
Well, let's talk about that then, because we were talking about this off camera, weren't we? And it's quite a fascinating story, because you said that this was one of one.
No, it's not one of one, but it's the only one that I know exists currently. Andy actually, in his book, he's got some photos of I think 3 of them in the UK. So what happened is, when Nintendo was sort of starting out in the UK, Bandai started making their cabinets and kiosks. And that was only for a short period. It was only a few years before they started making their own things. And this kiosk came off from Bandai. And in the inside, I think there's a sticker that says Bandai, and all the details about it. But this came up for sale, and a friend of mine was actually going to buy it, but I messaged him and I said, I really want this piece. I want it to go to my collection. And fair enough, he backed out. And I was able to pick it up not too far from here. It was like an hour from here, close to Milton Keynes or Luton. And it was an old mom and pop VHS store. So they were closing down. I went in and they just had all of these VHSs, accessories, and they had this thing up in like the second floor through like 20 stairs. So, I had to carry this with their help, get it into my van, and just bring it back. But it's so cool, because I mean, this is where the NES controller would go, and on the inside you've got the NES console, and then on the side here you've got what the US called VidPro cards, and these are like the cards that sort of slide in, and they preview the games, and they would, you know, you'd have all the games on the inside over here, and then if somebody wanted to try them out, you know, they could have just swapped them around, test the game out. If they like it, they'll just go and buy the game. But it's one of those things that, you know, going in the store back in the day was just so cool, because you could test things out. You can see what's currently, you know, hot and hip and cool. So it was just really nice. But definitely one of my favorite kiosks, because it's UK. You know, it's not a US one. It's fully UK, and it's NES. It doesn't get much better than NES.
That's right, and I think that's quite rare, because back in the day, I remember the M80C, which is my holy grail.
Yes.
But I don't remember this, so this is a really nice piece of extra history for me personally, because I don't recall it.
Yeah.
And it's UK, and I see the number there, 0329. Yeah, that is a UK number.
Yeah.
Now it would be 01329 on the panel there. But that's phenomenal. And do you know if this is the original television as well?
No, it's not. So I've got a picture of the actual catalog of that band. It came up for sale on, I think, eBay. Somebody was selling some old Nintendo merch. It was like an employee stash, and included was like a catalog of the UK Bandai Chaos displays. So everything Bandai made in the UK. And a lot of UK signs were made by Bandai, which is pretty cool. But there's a picture of the TV, so I'm trying to track down the original TV to hook it up to it. But it needs some love. It needs some, you know, some care. You know, some bits are sort of out of whack and stuff. But it is pretty much complete. I've got more of the cards. It's missing some cards on the left side.
On that side as
well. I know somebody in the UK has a bunch of cards. They don't want to sell them to me yet. No. But hopefully, you know, one day I'll have it all sort of decked out. But it's beautiful, and it's just iconic, because it's a UK one, and it's one I've kept, and I plan to hold on to, because it's just really special to me.
It's classic, and it's just the classic Mario colours, isn't it? It's that blue, it's that red, it just oozes Nintendo charm. It's unbelievable. And and as you picked them up, I didn't see them before, but like you said, you've got additional cards as well. Perhaps not all of them, but that's kind of the excitement of the chase, because now you can chase the cards as well. So it's like extra bits to collect, which is
it's cool.
Fantastic.
And then keeping on that, there's a sign over here, which is again, it's the same style sign, and that would have just hooked up to the ceiling, and it would have probably hang up just on top of the kiosk. So
has that been sold?
No, I'm keeping this, because it's part of the it's sort of part of the chaos. There was actually a lighted version of this, and I used to own it before I had the kiosk, and I sold it, and after I got the chaos, I'm like, dang, I regret selling it. But you know, it's pretty cool. Just, you know, it's a UK sign again, so that's pretty cool.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So, and then as we're kind of down here then, so we've got this kind of interest. We've mentioned you have some additional Star Fox stuff that we can maybe see later.
Yeah, sure thing. So this is, you know, it was a Star Fox display. It was for sale somewhere in the south of the US. And it was pretty beat. It was sort of like curled up on this corner, and then on the lower right side it was really damaged, but I was able to speak to the seller and come to a deal, and you know, he shipped it out to me. And what I did is I actually had it matted on a board, so it got really flat, and that's why it actually looks half decent now. And then, you know, framed it really nicely with those red and blue colors. And then, you know, you would have a display Star Fox box that attaches straight to it, but because I've got a acrylic glass on it, mostly to protect it from future fading, I've just attached those on the outside. And then now it's like, it still works as a display, but you know, it's protected. You've got UV glass to protect it for the future. But yeah, it's a really cool one. And
it's beautiful, and like you said, it's in great condition. I wouldn't have known you'd have even treated it. It's in that good of condition.
Well, it is now. If you looked at the photos before, it was absolutely disgusting. So it's sort of come back to life now. I cleaned it myself, so it was really grimy and dusty. So it's crazy. Like sometimes you get some things and they just look really awful,
Yeah.
but as a collector, you know, it's like it's on you to sometimes clean and restore stuff. So that's one where I took it upon myself. I'm like, I want to restore this, and luckily it's turned out really nicely.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And what is this piece here? This is just this kind of random. Is it where you just put an old console?
Yeah, I
perhaps?
think these I bought these from I think it was the Netherlands. They're just sort of boxes. I have no idea what's on the inside. I know. God. Yeah, so you put a Super Nintendo Chaos and then some games on there. But these are for sale and still are, like in the Netherlands. If you want to pick one up, they're fairly cheap. They're like 20-30 quid.
I think that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Good tip. Yeah.
But I mean, it's worth searching internationally for some things. I think you've got some of the Swedish or the Japanese case consoles with a briefcase. They're pretty cool.
There are lots of different designs on the Japanese ones as well.
Yeah.
So they are really nice pieces,
Yeah.
and it's good to know that they are quite cheap over in Holland.
Yeah,
so
they are.
And then this is like kind of an incredible space, isn't it? This whole wall here. So what have we got going on here?
Sure. So if we start here, this is like I think this was for sale in Nintendo Power magazine, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of those things people, kids, subscribers can just sort of buy off the mag. I think it is. I recall it is. So it's just one of those cool things.
Yeah.
You do see them a lot, but they're sort of all chipped out throughout and the artwork is gone. So this was just nice because you could see, you know, DK in his full glory. So I just bought it. And then over here you've got one of the world-class service signs. So that would have been on display either in a world-class service store, so a store that just repairs Nintendo stuff, or sometimes in the bigger stores they had like a little section where they repair them. And this is just in the US. Yeah. This is not in the UK. So it's just one of those nice signs. It's a metal sign, which is pretty cool. And it would just advertise that, you know, this is a world-class service area. Come and repair your stuff.
It's in great condition as well. And it's like embossed, isn't it? So you kind of see the 3D bubbly effect.
Yeah, if I recall, I got this. I got this from a ex-store owner who had like a bunch of them. He had like 4 or 5 back in the day, and I bought like 2 or 3 off him. And they were new old stock, which is it doesn't get better than new old stock.
1992. Oh, whoa! Sorry, Mario.
Yeah.
So this is some serious vintage stuff we got going on. And this we had on earlier, which people will see in B-roll. This is a beautiful.
Yeah, so this is a German rotating sign. So it is German. So it rotates, and you see different graphics, including the Mario Paint, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can have it on in B-roll. That's probably the nicest image there. And it lights up. Unfortunately, because of the glass is so thin on the front, they always crack. So when I bought this, it wasn't shipped in the best sort of package, and it cracked. But I sort of restored it myself again, and it looks half decent now. So it's in really good nick now.
Yes.
But I know somebody shipped one of these to the US, and it just completely shattered, and the guy had to do a full refund. But with some of these things, you just have to go and pick it up yourself. It's one of those things I learned later on, where it's like, you know what, it's worth making the journey, and it's part of the story. You know, when you go out on a journey, and it's on the way, you go to some game stores, you meet different collectors, and you come across different things. So later on, when more of these popped up, I actually made the journey myself.
Did you?
Or I had some of my friends pick it up, and then I would go pick up like a whole stash from them.
You've learned from prior mistakes to drive and pick these beautiful things up.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen that, obviously, it's been a German thing. That is stunning, absolutely stunning. And is this US?
Yes, this is one of the most
iconic
standard signs you can get for Super Nintendo. I mean, they're out there in abundance. Back in the day, these were like only $100 or $200. Now they're probably a bit more, 500 or 600. But they're always sort of cracked in the corners. Luckily, this one is not. and it's got some hooks on these sides that sort of just pop out,
Okay.
and you would just connect it via there. But at one point, at one point, there's somebody put a screw through there, so you just sort of connect it through there.
It's cool though.
It's a really cool find. I mean, SNES is one of my favorite sort of consoles to collect. Mainly.
Is it really?
SNES. Well,
Wait.
these three, you know,
It's
the
a
triad.
beautiful, yes.
Yeah. So this is called the triad, and triad is sort of the three sort of consoles that Super Nintendo were pushing out, and they actually started doing a series of signs that sort of encompass all three:
Yeah.
Super Nintendo, Game Boy, NES. My favorites being this Super Nintendo,
Yeah.
NES, Game Boy
Agreed.
also. I mean, Game Boy is
First,
beautiful.
second, third
Yes,
for me.
exactly.
Roast us in the comments,
Yeah.
but hey.
No, it doesn't get any better. You know, over the years, I've come to love Genesis a bit, but not too much.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. You know, it's like I started to respect what they did, but growing up, it's like, oh, it's either Nintendo or nothing else.
You remember the console
Yes.
wars
Yeah.
in the 90s,
And-
the many arguments in schools.
yeah.
Wow.
But it's crazy.
Yeah,
over
I mean,
over the
look at
years,
it.
over the years, I've come to appreciate Sega
Yeah,
too. So
course.
I've got some Sega stuff now, so that I'm making up for it. But yeah, this is a really cool sign. It's in really good condition. Funny story with this. The Nintendo store in New York wanted to purchase this, and this was for sale on eBay 2011 for $1,500.
Okay.
Which right now is cheap as chips if you consider it.
Goodness.
And I reached out to the seller and I'm like, oh, I'll pay $1,500.
Yep.
And I'm actually flying out to the US and I could come and pick it up. And he said, oh, the Nintendo store in New York, this is just when they opened up around 2011.
Right.
It's like at the top on the second floor or first floor, they have a small museum section.
Yep.
And they want the sign for it. And they have a budget of $1,500, and I'm like, well, I'll pay you $1,600 then, or
Perfect.
$1,700, and if that's fine, I'll collect it. He's like, yeah, sure thing. So when I went to collect it, I'm like, just out of curiosity, when you went back to them to say that, you know, somebody was paying $1,600, $1,700, what did they say? They said, oh, our budget's only $1,500, we can't pay more.
What?
So it's crazy. I paid more than the Nintendo store
You
in New York.
did Nintendo themselves with this.
It's ridiculous.
Good
But I
for
think it was just
you.
like the manager only had a budget
Yeah.
of $1,500. So,
Naturally.
but now it's like I sort of regret it because that would have been really cool in the Nintendo store in New York.
You could sell that to them.
Yeah. So it's funny how things work out.
And then yeah, we have some love here going
Yes,
on, don't
yes.
we?
Some things
Look
like-
at it.
Some things I sort of keep forever, and this is probably one of those things. It's just like it's not worth me ever selling this. Like, what can I possibly get for it? Reason is that's from Dixon's, and for people in the UK, Dixon's was, you know, a huge store, and it became Curry's later on. And so to have a little display from Dixon's, it's really cool. So anything I can get from like Dixon's, HMV, I'll always keep because it just connects me to sort of, you know, back in the day, you know, shopping around in the UK in the high street, which doesn't exist anymore. So this is pretty cool. And,
Yeah.
you know, little details like the whole package, 159, or, you know, separately, 64 is pretty cool. But that's one I really cherish and love.
Yeah, it is beautiful. There's something to be said about the signage. The
Yeah.
artwork is just gleaming. The
Yeah.
prices, it's in great condition. It's a piece of history right there.
I think I got that for a tenner on eBay. Yeah, it's cool.
That's incredible. Okay, so what else do we have? We'll scoot around. What else do you feel the people need to? I mean, this is cool, isn't it?
Yes,
You mentioned
so this is you sort of get this graphic pretty much everywhere. I think it's on one of the globes also, but I got this from Holland, fairly cheap also, like 150 euros. But it's cool. You actually get them where on the other side there's some different graphics, including a Star Wing one. I've had them throughout the years, but this is one sort of I picked up recently, and just it's pretty cool. You know, you can hang it up and it's beautiful.
gorgeous.
But yeah, some people only collect like UK only displays or UK, you know, PAL only stuff. I don't care. You know, if
anything
Super Nintendo internationally, I'll buy it.
Yes.
So it's a beautiful graphic. So you know, I said why not?
Yeah.
And it goes with my globe, so that's pretty cool.
Fabuloso. So we got some classic kiosks here. So we've mentioned the M80C. When I was out in America, I was saying to you off camera that these were all over the place, Not with the base though; they were just the top, the bar top.
Yeah, the base is, you know, especially in the UK, you get the tabletops, but the base is hard to come by. It is. I do have the arms. I just haven't had the time to put it together.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. I remember going into a smaller store, like a small mom and pop store, and I remember this kiosk.
Yeah.
I think I paid like $2.50 for like half an hour to play.
And £2.50, that's a great price.
Honestly, I remember that. You know, I went in a small store and it was like $2.50. You can play whatever game it was. This was in, you know, back in the day.
Yeah.
And so I remember this kiosk, and this was everywhere. So I got this actually from the US. It's got one of the Zenith TVs, which is branded, which is pretty cool.
Which is one over there, isn't there?
Yeah, they're terrible monitors because they always, the capacitors are always going off. So this is one where it's not working, unfortunately, so I have to get it repaired again. But it's really cool. It's an iconic kiosk. It's beautiful.
And it even says on the hang on, bear with. It says will not work separately if it's basically parted from the display.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's a wire that connects this to a board.
Okay.
And it's
somewhere back there. Something going on.
Yeah, if you sort of disconnect it, it doesn't work. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I have one upstairs. Well, we could show you, and I'll show you. Well, actually, let's move on to this one.
Let's move on to this because a certain somebody is buying this kiosk.
Yeah, so yeah, when you told me, you're like, oh, I'm after a kiosk, I'm like, well, I've got a few.
Yeah, I've got a few.
Yeah, so this one actually came from Sweden, somewhere up there. And what's pretty cool about this one is it's pretty much brand new. So you're getting a brand new kiosk. It's in mint condition. It's got all the original, you know, keys. It's got all the original parts to go with it.
Wow.
And furthermore, it even has the instructions, sort of how to assemble the kiosk, and it's just beautiful. You know, it looks similar to the standard PAL and NTSC kiosk.
Yes.
But they decided to make this in the Scandinavian countries.
Okay.
It lights up. It's got the speakers. I had it on earlier. It sounds stunning. And it's PAL also, so it's perfect.
PAL.
It's beautiful.
Do I get the controllers with it?
Yeah. You probably need to replace them because
That's
the
okay.
buttons are so sticky.
Yeah. Give it a clean.
Yes, yeah.
It'll be a great video because this is now coming home with me, and it's just so obscure, and it's just so it feels heavy. Is it heavy?
It's not too heavy to be honest.
Good.
Yeah, because there's no TV on it. But
Right.
once you have a TV on it, it's a bit heavy. And what's cool,
It's all random.
what's cool about this one
Go on.
is you can actually adjust the height. So you can actually have a bigger TV on this, where you can't do that on the PAL and US ones.
Okay.
They're sort of fixed. But if I recall, we can adjust this so you can have a bigger TV on it.
I'm stoked.
So I would put like a 17-inch PVM on it, and because it looks so good on a PVM compared to like a sort of old TV, unless you get like a really cool Sony one. But if we can adjust the height for you, then put a bigger TV on it. That would look really good. Yeah.
Incredible.
So yeah, that's one that is taken back with you. So congrats on that.
Thank you so much.
Finally ticked it off your list.
Partially, well, totally making my dream come true. I've been so excited. I was up at 4 o'clock this morning thinking about this. I've been awake since 4, just sat there, just excited to come down. It's brilliant.
No, I know how it feels. This is funny enough. This kiosk here was the first one I ever bought, and I bought it from the US, and I got it shipped out, and I remember they had to ship it out on freight.
Okay.
So it took like 2 months to arrive, and then it went to like clearing, custom, and I had to pay like 300 quid, and it was just a nightmare. And then I had to drive like 4 hours. I don't know where, I can't remember now. It was like 14, 15 years ago. But I was so excited. I'm like, it's worth it. I've probably paid 2-3 times what it's worth, but it was my first one. I'm like, I just want it. I just want to tick it off my list.
I'm going to get one of these. If you come across one ever, please message me. I really, really want one. I love it. But I have this beauty for now as well, which is even better. Does the console come with it as well?
Yeah. So it's you've got the whole console. I'm not sure you get the game.
That's fine. I have plenty of games.
Yeah, I think you do.
Plenty of games. So it's all
but
good.
no, it's a really cool kiosk. It's a sort of different design, and it looks pretty cool. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then you just need to get yourself like a cabinet, one of these cabinets.
These bad boys.
Or one of these smaller ones, and then you can put it on top of them.
Of course.
And then, these two actually, they're US cabinets that you can tell by the chroming and style.
Oh, whereas these don't have the chrome. So these are European, aren't they?
These are European. But I bought these from Europe, but I think what happened is they shipped out a bunch to, I think, Germany and the Netherlands. And then over time, in Germany, they started making these ones.
Yeah.
And you can get these, oh God, you could get them so easily in Germany. So if anybody ever wants one of these, search German eBay. You can get one for like 500 euros. It's just shipping it or going out to collect it is a nightmare. But it's manageable. If you're up for a road trip, it's definitely worth doing. At one point, these were selling for like 1,000.
Okay.
I don't know if that's still the case, but you can definitely get one, especially if it's not in the best condition, where you just need to sort of clean it up and restore it yourself. Of course, you've got the lock, you've got shelving.
The shelves go inside as well. Oh, you can see where the shelves would actually kind of go onto there.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I've got one upstairs in the other room where it's a double. So I'll show you that, and it opens up. So that's pretty cool.
Insane in the membrane. Brilliant.
And then what else do we have? So this is a German kiosk here.
This is the original sign.
Yes, that's the original sign. Ignore the TV and the Sharp SF1.
Oh, we have an SF1.
Yeah. So it's the sign. The TV would come here. You have controller arms that sort of stick out through here. And then what's really nice is this opens up for like space and shelving and games and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And then you've got the lock also. So that's a German kiosk. That's one it's in 2 parts. Over 2 trips I picked them up. So that was pretty cool. But sort of had it stored at a friend's house. But it's a really nice different sort of style. And that's one of the side arms for that big SNES kiosk, which I plan to have a light box behind, and then it just bright it. Yeah.
And I see why you've got a Woolworths sign back there.
Yes, yeah. So
this is getting really interesting. I mean, I don't think I could be more shocked to see the Lost Vikings. I see.
Yeah,
there's this Ocarina of Time.
There's a bunch of things behind there. It's just storage is, space is always an issue. But that Woolworths sign, I was planning on having like Nintendo graphics on it. I've got like some old stickers, so I was going to turn it into like a Woolworths, Mario advertising sign. But I've just never come I don't have the spare time to do that. But it's one I plan to do in the future. So that's cool. But there's one thing we haven't covered in this room. Okay. Probably one of the best pieces I own, the Nintendo Powers Preview Kiosk.
This whole thing here.
This thing is a beast, and I think I've got some B-roll, so I'll send that to you. But the TV comes up here, and what's cool is this runs off a laser disc, and that laser disc is this huge disc. I think I've got one. So let's see. There's these huge discs over here, and this is like version 7 Nintendo Power Preview. And what this does is it basically this is an interactive keyboard. So if you want to see the preview for Mega Man, you would click this, and on the TV, it would show you a trailer of the Mega Man game. So it's like just gameplay. Okay. And then if you want, you want to see Donkey Kong, you press that. If you want to see Mario 64, you press that. And, you would have these in the bigger Toys R Us stores, and you just go up to one of these, and whatever game you want to see, or the parents, they want to see, certain games, you just click them, it displays it, and it's just so cool and iconic. Yeah. You never come across these in the UK. even in the US, you very rarely come across these. It's like a holy grail for display collectors,
Right.
chaos collectors. This is a really big deal. You can't play anything on this. It's just a preview, but it's so iconic. It's so beautiful.
Beautiful.
But yeah, it's a really cool piece. It lights up. You've got speakers. You've got another speaker there. This all lights up. It's glorious. It's beautiful.
It's stunning.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's right, to be continued indeed. But before we close out, this was a full Nintendo Power Magazine collection as well. This place was the gift that kept on giving. And earlier in this episode, we mentioned the Star Fox competition cartridge and memorabilia. Well, I may have just gone and done another thing.